Hi, and welcome to our video for 8.1 molecular compounds. So far, the types of chemical bonds we've been talking about, the types of compounds we've been talking about are ionic compounds, where one atom completely gives an electron away to another atom. But now we're going to talk about what's called the covalent bond, right? And co-with. So here, they're going to atoms are held together by sharing electrons, right? And they're joined by what's called a covalent bond. They share a molecule. They share electrons and form a molecule. For example, right, if we have two hydrogens, right, hydrogen has one electron, and along comes another hydrogen with its electron. These two hydrogens are said to share these two electrons. So if you have the proton, and here's the electron around it, here's the other proton, the nucleus, this other electron, and they share them. So the electrons will kind of go back and forth between the two atoms, and the entire molecule shares the electrons. All right, so we have these molecules, but just a reminder of the definition. A molecule is a neutral group of atoms joined together by covalent bonds. One type is what's called a diatomic molecule, and that's a molecule consisting of two atoms. This hydrogen molecule, H2, is an example, and others that we're going to have to kind of know. I forgot to erase this parenthesis, sorry about that. Others that we're going to kind of have to know are what's called the Brinkelhoffs. Bromine, iodine, nitrogen, chlorine, hydrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. These are said, these are called the Brinkelhoffs, and they exist in nature predominantly, only as these diatomic molecules. And for any of them, right, they share a pair of electrons. So for fluorine, for example, right, fluorine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this fluorine brings, we'll do little X's here so we can distinguish between them, these 7 electrons where these two are shared. Right, we'll also draw it like, boom, an F, fluorine connected to the fluorine by this line. This line represents these electrons here. Okay? We won't always draw these, but we can. This line represents the chemical bond by the sharing of these two electrons. Okay, a molecular compound is any compound now composed of molecules. Right, these are molecules, but they're not compounds because there's only one type of element, only one type of atom. Molecular compound is a compound composed of molecules, and they tend to have a lower melting point, right, and a lower boiling point than ionic compounds. The ionic compounds form that kind of a network, or not quite a network, but you know, that crystalline structure that's really, really hard to break apart. So they tend to have high melting points and high boiling points. These molecular compounds tend to have a lower melting point and a lower boiling point than ionic compounds. All right, so one thing that's going to start to become very important to us are these things known as molecular formulas. That's the chemical formula of a molecular compound. And these show how many atoms of each element a molecule contains. All right, so for our most common example, right, H2O, there's 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. Now, we don't write H2O1. Just the fact that there's nothing there other than the O for oxygen means that there's one of them. If we want to say, right, if we have carbon dioxide, CO2, 2 carbons, 1 carbon, that's why we just say carbon, 2 oxygens, but they're oxygen, they're anions, so it's carbon dioxide. Carbon monoxide, CO, 1 to 1, 1 carbon, 1 oxygen, and once again it's an ion, so it's oxide. Let's see, we have C2H6, ethane. Right, there's 2 carbons, 6 hydrogens. Another common one. Oop. Right. Another common one, NH3, which is ammonia. And the next video, we're going to learn a little bit more about that. All right, that's it for 8.1. Kind of short but sweet. See you guys in school.